Hello there, another lovely day. What is it, mid-May? Is it 15th or 16th of May? Can't remember. So still here on the Isle of Wight. Just in Ventnor Park at the moment. Beautiful, beautiful spot. Just going to quickly do a very quick overview of this book. Return of the Unicorns by Eric Dinerstein. So it's a fabulous book. So the Return of the Unicorns, a natural history and conservation of the Greater One Horned Rhinoceros. So one of the species of Southeast Asian rhinos, and a real conservation success story. So published, it's not a new book, it's published quite a while ago. When was it published? 2003. So this is an absolutely fabulous book. Really good overview of large kind of megafauna, large mammal recovery in landscapes full of people. So primarily Nepal in this case, in the Terai Arc of Nepal. And Eric Dinerstein was at the time, I think, the chief scientist at WWF US when he did this research, I think in association with Smithsonian and some other US organisations with Nepalese collaborators and team leaders, etc. So superb introduction to conservation biology and conservation science and species recovery. So I'll quickly go into the content of the book. So part one, vanishing mammals, vanishing landscapes. So it gives a really good overview of the various species of rhinos in Southeast Asia, which, as we know, are really facing serious threats, especially Sumatran and Javan rhino, and especially Sumatran rhino because their population really is being hammered in Sumatran. And it's a really, really nice overview of the status of those kind of large mammals in Southeast Asia, of which the Greater One Horned Rhino is just one. So the second part of part one goes into the culture and the demand for rhino horn, which is obviously one of the severe threats. And then the third part of part one discusses the kind of the floodplain of the Terai, so the habitat that this particular rhino species lives in, which is a more open, naturally open, very dynamic, large-scale floodplain system. The other rhinos are really kind of disturbed forest or forest interior species, probably more disturbed than interior species. Then part two goes into the research conducted by the Nepalese field workers and Eric in the Terai Arc, looking at sexual dimorphism of Greater One Horned Rhinos, looking at the biology of an extinction-prone species, slow reproductive rate, massive kind of ranging requirements, and obviously vulnerable to various anthropogenic threats, which bigger species tend to be more exposed to and more vulnerable to. Then he goes into kind of the behavioural ecology, the ranging behaviour and spacing behaviour of the species, and its feeding biology and activity patterns across the landscape. Then in part three, Eric sort of uses the Greater One Horned Rhino, one of the mega herbivore species, as a kind of a case study to kind of discuss the conservation of the other kind of large mammal species within this Southeast Asian sort of landscapes, where you've got wild cattle, gaur and banteng, and obviously the other rhinos, Javan and Sumatran rhinos, Asian elephants, all sorts of large charismatic species, and how to make room for megafauna in places where there are lots and lots of people with not very many resources at all that need to use the landscapes as well, and how to try and integrate livelihoods with the conservation of these large area demanding species that can often be quite dangerous. So a really, really good book, not only on this particular species, the Greater One Horned Rhino, but also area demanding species, and how you can accommodate their needs in areas with lots and lots of people, such as Southeast Asia, and directly relevant, I think, to Europe in some ways, in terms of, you know, recovery of European bison and elk and other, again, larger area demanding species. So strongly recommend this book. It's beautifully written as well, so the technical aspects are in here, but they're kept in the annexes. You know, tables of data, that kind of stuff, are all in the kind of technical annexes, as you can see, which is a really good touch. And the rest of the book is beautifully written, really accessible, but technically very kind of robust. So yeah, check out the link in the description below, and do provide any comments you have on your favourite kind of books that are relevant to rewilding and large landscape area demanding species conservation. And now I'm going to go for a coffee. No point going birding because there's nothing around.